They say the moon burns brightest over St. Croix, where the sea claws at black cliffs and rain sleeps inside the hills. Long before tourists and trade winds, wolves ruled these valleys in secret, sworn to guard the laws of the moon. Moonfang's bloodline held this island for centuries, their fortress carved into the stone heart of Mount Eagle. Now engines hum where drums once called the packs. Politics rule where prayer once carried power. But the moon still chooses, and tonight she chooses Ameekah. The first scream cut through the valley before the bells could ring. Then came the smoke. Ameekah woke to orange light stuttering against her shutters and the metallic taste of fear in her mouth. She threw on a robe and ran barefoot down the corridor, hair loose, throat burning. Outside, the courtyard was a furnace, embers rising in waves, turning the air to glittering ash. Wolves sprinted past her, claws striking stone, their growls shaking the walls. The eastern gate shuddered under impact, runes flaring and fading like dying stars. Her father's voice rose through the chaos. "Kieran, East Wall, keep your sister out of sight." Her brother burst through the smoke, sweat glistening across his shoulders. "Back inside," he shouted, gripping her arm. His eyes were wild but sure. "They're breaking through the lower gate." "I can fight," she said, yanking free. "Just tell me where." "You'll burn before you reach a blade." "Inside, Mika." She followed anyway, heart pounding. From the terrace, she saw the valley blazing below. Fields, stables, even the watchtower, drowning in fire. Dark shapes moved through the flames, organized, relentless. Somewhere inside the roar, a voice cut clear. "Find the girl. Bring her alive." Her father, Alpha Tamar, stood in the courtyard's center, eyes glowing silver red. His sword carved through smoke and bodies alike. Each strike was too fast to follow. The ground shook beneath every kill. He looked up and found her on the terrace. His voice broke like thunder. "Get down, Mika. Don't look back. I'll find you." She hesitated, confusion and terror pulling in opposite directions. The eastern wall split with a groan. Stone cracked, a beam tore loose, and the terrace jumped beneath her feet. Sparks sprayed across her robe. The heat lifted her hair. She hit the tiles hard, palms sliding on soot. A burning splinter grazed her shoulder, leaving a crescent-shaped welt she would never forget. A hand seized her wrist. "Up, child." "Grandmother." She knew the grip before she saw the face. Nadia stood in the firelight, shawl burned at the edges, gray curls loose, eyes fierce behind ash. "Through the tunnel," she ordered, calm and sharp. "Now." "I can't leave them." "You must. They're fighting so you can live." Ameekah's chest cracked open with helplessness. "Move!" They ran. Behind them, Chiron's howl rose, breaking into a roar that shook dust from the beams. Ameekah looked back once and saw her father and brother framed in fire, two dark silhouettes holding a line that would not hold forever. The cellar stairs burned her feet. The tunnel reeked of damp stone and rusted metal. Their breaths echoed in the narrow dark. When they reached the exit, rain met flame. The hiss sounded like the island itself crying out. They pushed the grate open and crawled into the storm. The valley behind them was a wound of orange and smoke. Fire chewed through the cane fields and sparks drifted into the rain like dying stars. Nadia stumbled. Ameekah caught her, heart hammering. "I'm all right," the old woman gasped, "but the smoke's spreading fast." "Shift." "I don't—" The words tangled on her tongue. "I don't know how." "You do. Your body remembers. Stop thinking. Let it happen." Pain ripped through her spine and wrists. Bones reshaped, skin split and healed. Her cry vanished in the storm. Then the world exploded into scent and sound. Rain on cane, salt on wind, heartbeats like drums in her skull. "Run!" Nadia commanded. "Run until the smoke can't find us." Ameekah ran. Through mud, through rain, through the heartbeat of the island itself. The storm chased her to the river, and only the cold current stopped her. She stood trembling, water washing soot from her fur. By morning she was human again, knees sunk in wet grass, hair plastered to her face, lungs raw. Ash drifted along the river like gray petals. Nadia lay beside her, shawl soaked, fingers tight around Ameekah's wrist. They knew, Nadia whispered, eyes on the pale horizon. Who? Your father and brother. They knew the moon had whispered your name first. Ameekah swallowed hard. I don't feel chosen. I feel empty. You feel alive. That's enough for now. They hid for 2 days in the limestone hills where rain carved rooms through the rock. At night she dreamed of fire and woke to the scent of wet ash. On the 3rd day, a horn echoed across the valley. High, metallic, not pack. A council horn. Nadia's head snapped up. Through the mist, a rider appeared, cloak silver-edged, bearing the seal of the Guardians. The basin had felt Moonfang's survival. It always did. The rider dismounted, boots sinking into soaked grass. He bowed low, not to a child, but to the alpha the moon had spared. By decree of the council, he said, the heir of Moonfang is summoned to the Grand Lunar Summit. Ameekah blinked. Summoned for what? For recognition, he said, and for judgment. 4 days from today, the council will convene under the full moon. Nadia's hand tightened around her arm. We'll come. When the rider vanished back into the fog, Ameekah stared after him. The silver seal burned into her thoughts. Do you think this is about the attack? They want you there, Nadia said, because the moon wants you seen. I'm not ready to be seen. I don't even know how to stand before them. Nadia turned her toward the river. Listen. To what? To what's still alive? The water. Your heartbeat. The line that brought you here. Being chosen never feels like triumph. It feels like ruin, asking what you'll do next. Ameekah watched the river carry ash toward the sea. If the moon means to put me in that hall, she said, then I'll go. But not to beg. I'll go to remind them what power costs. Nadia smiled faintly. Good. Then we begin. Begin what? Learning. You wanted the law for argument. Now you'll need it to keep your crown. Ameekah tied the parchment with its red thread and looked east, where her home had been. The morning light caught the river, turning it silver, 2 faint ripples flashing red at the center like the basin she'd one day command. If this is what it means to be chosen, she whispered, then let the moon see what she's made. The river moved on, the sky cleared, and somewhere far out to sea, thunder answered, too distant to threaten, close enough to promise. When morning came, it carried smoke and silence. The rain had cooled the flames, but the valley still steamed. Every breath tasted of salt and ash. Ameekah stood where the great gates had fallen. Around her, the survivors worked without speaking, warriors digging through rubble, healers carrying buckets, elders whispering prayers over what was lost. Then a shout broke through the haze. Down here! They're alive. The ground split where the storehouse had collapsed. Beneath the rubble, a tunnel breathed. Guards tore the stones away until the first figures crawled into the light. She-wolves clutching pups, elders gray with soot, young sentinels bruised but breathing. Nadia's hand trembled against her heart. The den's held, she whispered. Ameekah knelt beside a woman holding 2 children. You kept them safe, she said softly. That's what matters. The woman's eyes filled. What happens to us now, Alpha? Ameekah looked toward the ruined keep. We start again. Beneath the broken stone, Moonfang's underground hall still pulsed with life. Power lines and ward crystals hummed along the walls, modern circuitry interlaced with ancient sigils. The upper world had burned, but the heart of Moonfang endured. Down the southern corridor, the pack hospital glowed with low amber light, thick with the scent of sage and antiseptic. A tall woman commanded the room with firm hands. Hold him steady. Pour the herbs. Good. Her voice was rough but sure. When she turned, Ameekah met her eyes, bronze, clear, and steady. I'm Healer Captain Zaria Wren of the Coastal Wing, she said, the sigils held. We've kept the wounded breathing. You've done more than that, Ameekah replied. You've kept hope alive. For a moment, their eyes held, 2 women recognizing each other's strength through exhaustion. By nightfall, the smoke had thinned. From the deepest tunnels came better news. The archives had survived. The treaties, the ledgers, the scrolls, all safe inside their vault. Even fire bends around words, Elder Joram murmured, pressing his palm to the door. Ameekah traced the crescent crest above it. Then we still have memory. That night, the pack gathered in the grove of calabash and moringa trees. Lanterns swayed from the branches. Their light shimmered on wet leaves. In the center burned two memorial flames, one for Tamar, her father, and one for Chiron, her brother. Shaman Malak stood between them, his layered robes of ash and silver thread brushing the ground, beads of bone and moonstone clicking softly. His voice rolled low and deep like thunder beneath the island. "Mother of the moon," he said, "keeper of breath and bone, receive the warriors who guarded your flame. Let their light return to you and rise again through the air you have chosen." Nadia's voice rose behind him, soft but steady. The others followed, their chant rippling like the tide, ash to earth, blood to water, soul to the moon. Warriors stepped forward, placing tokens between the flames, an iron fang for Damar, a crimson sash for Chiron. Ameekah lit a black beeswax candle from one of the memorial flames and set it between them. The air shifted, gold fading into silver, silver deepening to red. A hush fell across the grove. "Child of Tamar," Malak said, lifting his staff carved from the root of the first moon tree. "Step forward." Ameekah obeyed. Nadia dipped her fingers in sacred oil and drew a crescent across her granddaughter's brow. "By blood, breath, and will," Malak declared, each word heavy as stone. "The line continues. The moon has chosen. Rise, Alpha Ameekah of Moonfang." The pack knelt, not in grief, but allegiance. A wind swept through the grove, moringa leaves turning silver as power settled into Ameekah's bones. First light broke gently over the valley. The scent of herbs replaced smoke. Ameekah stood before her people, her crimson jacket pressed, the silver crest pinned over her heart. "We rebuild," she said. "The dens held." The words endured. "Our legacy continues. Moonfang lives." Her gaze found Zaria in the crowd. "Healer Captain Zaria Wren," she called. "You stood where others fell. From this day you stand beside me as Beta of Moonfang." Zaria stepped forward and bowed once, a soldier's bow. "I'll guard what you build, Alpha. And I'll remember who helped me build it." A single rising howl broke the morning, low, steady, alive. When the final beam was lifted and the last wound closed, Ameekah walked the courtyard that had once belonged to her father. The power lights buzzed softly, walls gleamed with fresh sigils, and the hum of renewal filled the air. She stopped beneath the restored gate, her reflection faint on the new steel crest. "Prepare the convoy," she said, her voice even but commanding. "Moonfang will answer the council's summons, not as beggars, but as equals." All motion stilled, every head turned. From the walls, Zaria called out, "Yes, Alpha." The order spread through the pack like thunder, boots striking stone, vehicles starting, the sound of engines echoing through the valley. The rebuilding was done. The reckoning had begun. The great hall stirred as if aware of something approaching, a low hum rippling through marble, steel, and breath. Outside, engines idled. Headlights cut through the mist, gilding the rain in molten gold. The car door opened, and then she stepped out. Scarlet fabric caught the torchlight, draping over her like liquid fire. Her bronze skin gleamed against the soft burn of rain. The air itself bent around her, scenting thick with coconut and vanilla, threaded with smoke, warmth and danger in the same breath. He felt it hit him before he even saw her face. Something ancient inside him stirred, something with claws and memory. His spine straightened, his chest burned. Then she looked up. Their eyes met. The world stilled. The torches flickered once, as if the flames themselves had inhaled. Every sound, the rain, the engines, the whispers, vanished into that single glance. She wasn't close, but he could see everything. The faint shimmer of water on her lashes, the pulse at her throat, the challenge already forming behind her eyes. His pulse matched it, pounding deep and heavy. Heat rolled through him, not gentle, not patient, but wild and consuming. His body knew her before his mind could speak it. Every instinct roared in the same wordless voice that ruled his bloodline. "Mate!" It wasn't a thought, it was an awakening. a rush that tore through him like lightning splitting sky from sea. His breath caught, his jaw locked. The room dissolved around her. No council, no banners, no politics. Just her. He didn't move, but the energy between them did, pulling, stretching, alive. Her eyes widened, something in her chest answering the pull she didn't understand. The air between them shimmered with heat, the way air bends above fire. She blinked once and the spell fractured, barely. The hall returned in pieces, voices, footsteps, the clink of armor. He still couldn't look away. A voice cut low beside him. "Alpha?" He exhaled slowly, steady but burning. No one touches her. And before the voice could ask, he started down the steps. Each stride precise, controlled. But the hunger in his eyes betrayed him. From across the courtyard, her pulse raced. She didn't know why. She only knew something in her had found its reflection. When they stopped face to face, the world went silent again. The firelight caught his scar, his jaw, the dark gleam of gold in his eyes. He smelled of wild cedar and dark chocolate. Clean, intoxicating, dangerous. "Welcome to the summit," he said, voice low and rough, every syllable brushing her skin like a hand. Her chin lifted, calm but electric. "You should be careful," she said. "Some fires don't go out." His smile ghosted across his mouth. Not amusement, recognition. "Then burn me." Neither of them moved, but everyone watching could feel it. The air, the tension, the kind of pull that could set kingdoms on fire. The great doors opened to the sound of murmured protocol and shifting chairs. She crossed the threshold, that same scent following her. Warm, dangerous, unforgettable. But now under the hall's white fire, she was no longer the mystery from the courtyard. She was the storm they'd all felt coming. Every conversation stilled, heads turned. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Shaka stood near the dais, his posture military perfect, though inside his pulse hadn't slowed since the moment she stepped from her car. The bond still pulled at him, quiet now but constant, a current just beneath the skin. He didn't let it show. Ironclaw didn't lose control in public. Until he did. Because when she looked up, her gaze swept across the chamber and stopped on him, just for a second. But it was enough to undo him all over again. Her expression was composed, diplomatic, unreadable. His wasn't. The flicker in his eyes betrayed him before he could school it away. Across the room, Yehoshua stiffened beside him, catching the shift. "Alpha," he murmured, low, warning. Shaka didn't answer. He just watched her take her place among the great houses, the crimson of her suit a single drop of flame in a room of silver and stone. Guardian Thane's voice rose from the dais, breaking through the tension like a blade through silk. "By decree of the moon's will, the Grand Lunar Summit convenes. Let us first honor the fallen, Alpha Tamar of Moonfang and Kiran, father and son, who held the line until the fires claimed them." Silence fell. She bowed her head, but her fingers trembled once at her side. The smallest fracture, and it cut through him like steel. Before anyone could speak, the scrape of a chair broke the stillness. Shaka stood, no warning, no restraint. The guardians turned, startled. The alphas of two houses froze mid-breath. He moved before thought could catch up, crossing to her side with controlled steps, his face impassive, but his energy unmistakable. He didn't touch her, but the air between them crackled like a storm about to break. Thane's brows drew tight. "Alpha Shaka," he said carefully, "the council floor should remember respect," Shaka said, his tone low, dangerous. Murmurs rippled through the room. Even his own Beta looked stunned. She turned toward him, meeting his eyes for the first time in this new light. Steady, defiant, but soft around the edges. The same spark from the courtyard flickered there, and he felt it answer in his chest. "It's all right," she said, voice calm but threaded with emotion. "My father and brother stood for what they believed. That's honor enough." Shaka held her gaze a beat too long before stepping back. Every alpha in the hall could feel it. The tension, the bond, the shift in the air that none of them could explain. The light from the moon basin filled the grand hall like breath made visible. silver and red twisting together until it hummed in the bones of everyone watching. Ameekah stood at its edge, palms still over the water, her reflection trembling beneath the glow. Guardian Thane's voice echoed through the marble. "Alpha of Moonfang," he said, steady but careful. "You may speak." Ameekah took a breath that tasted of sage and smoke. "The council summoned me to be seen and to be judged," she began, voice clear. "But not one of you came to see what was left after the fire. No one sent aid. No one checked if the survivors were still breathing. My father stood among you as a brother, a friend. You called him ally. You called him Alpha." Her gaze swept across the table. "But when Moonfang fell, the silence from this room was louder than the flames." The words cracked the stillness. Melik of Coral Fang leaned back with a dry laugh. "While your home was burning, my eastern routes were bleeding. Rogues hit our convoys every week. If you want sympathy, try paying for guards." Before Thane could intervene, Saga of Golden Coast rose, her gold bracelets clinking like armor. "And my ports were being robbed. We lost half a shipment of medical supplies last month. No one came to help us either." From the lower levels, an outer claw alpha barked out bitterly, "Help? We don't even get supplies. Our pups are being kidnapped while the high banners debate trade routes." Another voice joined in, low and furious. "The medicine we make never reaches us. It's sent to your cities. You talk about unity, but we're starving while your tables overflow." One of the great alphas slammed a palm against the table. "Our food caravans are being hijacked before they reach our borders. Maybe if the border packs did their jobs, no one would be hungry." The hall erupted, shouting, accusations, the clatter of fists on marble. Ameekah stayed still, jaw tight. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Enough! You all want to talk about losses? We buried children too. We lost homes, names, history. And still you stand here fighting over whose pain weighs more." Melik smirked. "That's the price of leadership, Alpha. Maybe you're not built for it." Before she could answer, a chair scraped sharply against the floor. Shaka rose. Every sound died. "Watch your mouth," he said. Quiet, calm, lethal. The entire hall froze. Melik tried to recover, forcing a laugh. "No offense meant, Ironclaw. If you've made it this far, you're part of the pack now. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think happens next. Hit that like button if you're feeling the energy, and make sure you're subscribed. The story's about to turn." "You meant it," Shaka said. "You just didn't expect anyone to call you on it." Thane raised a hand. "Alpha Shaka, please." "No," Shaka interrupted, eyes hard on Melik. "You call her weak while hiding behind guards who couldn't hold a line for an hour. If we're going to talk about failure, let's start there." A ripple of murmurs moved through the great houses. Ameekah glanced at him, startled, wary, something else flickering under it. Shaka didn't look back. His voice dropped, steady and powerful. "This is why I propose a unified defense accord. One banner, one command, one will. Trained by Ironclaw, supplied by Ironclaw. We stop bleeding separately and fight together before every pack here burns." The room shifted, half intrigued, half enraged. Saga crossed her arms. "Under your command? You'd have us surrender our armies for your control?" Kyan of Shadow Bay leaned forward. "That's not defense. That's a takeover." From the rails, one of the border alphas shouted, "We've been dying for decades. Maybe it's time someone else leads." The noise swelled again. Ameekah stepped forward, her voice cutting through it all. Clean, strong, controlled. "Strength without choice is just fear and armor. You talk about unity, but you mean obedience. You forge blades, Ironclaw. Moonfang forges law. Both protect, both destroy. The difference is who you trust to hold them." A hush rippled through the room. Her eyes swept the council, then stopped on him. "We didn't come here to surrender. We came to remind you that the treaties our fathers signed weren't meant to build thrones. They were meant to build balance." Shaka stared at her, jaw tight, expression unreadable. Thane struck his staff once, breaking the silence. "Enough. The summit will reconvene at first light. Let the moon's peace hold. The meeting dissolved in murmurs. The great houses filed out in neat rows, while the outer claws lingered, voices low and sharp. Ameekah turned from the basin, the red light still flickering faintly on her hands. From the far end of the hall, Shaka watched her leave. Every muscle wound tight, control fraying at the edges. The goddess, he muttered, has a cruel sense of humor. The hall emptied, leaving silence thick enough to hear her heartbeat. Ameekah moved fast, anger and adrenaline chasing each other through her veins. The marble floor still hummed with power. Every step echoed like it wanted to be louder. Then she felt it, the air shift, heavy, electric. "You handled yourself well," a voice said behind her. She didn't turn, but her pulse jumped. That voice carried through the air like heat. "I wasn't performing," she said. "I was surviving." Shaka stepped from the shadows, moonlight sliding across his skin. His control was usually iron. Now it cracked around the edges. The scent of him hit her again. Cedar, dark chocolate, clean iron. It tangled with her breath. "You survived because they saw what I saw," he said quietly. "Fire that doesn't back down." She turned to face him, chin lifted. "You don't know me well enough to see anything." He took a step closer. "Don't I?" The distance between them disappeared into a single breath. Her skin prickled. His energy filled the space. Raw, magnetic. "You shouldn't have spoken for me in there," she said. "I didn't ask for protection." His voice dropped lower, rougher. "That wasn't protection. That was instinct." "Instinct?" He smiled. Slow, dangerous. "You can feel it too." The fortress slept, but Ameekah didn't trust the silence. She'd learned young that quiet wasn't peace. It was a warning. Down below, the last torches flickered along the cliffs, and the sea reflected nothing but darkness. She hadn't slept. The moon basin's light still clung to her skin and memory, a phantom warmth that wouldn't fade. "Guard rotations just changed," Zaria said behind her, tightening the strap on a holster. "Shorter shifts." "They're jumpy." Ameekah didn't turn. "We won't be." Her hand rested on the cold glass. "Not again." The wind shifted, carrying the faint tang of burnt metal. Across the fortress, in a bare room that smelled of oil and steel, Shaka sat on the edge of his bed, turning a bronze disc in his hand. His father's war medallion, marked with the fang and anvil of Ironclaw. He'd told himself the basin's reaction meant nothing. The red flare for Moonfang, the black gold for him. Ritual, not destiny. Yet the heat of it lingered in his bones, and when he closed his eyes, he still saw her standing in that light. Alpha, he reminded himself. Not weakness, not distraction. Yehoshua entered without knocking. "Perimeter's quiet," he said. "Too quiet. The council reconvenes at 10. You'll have your vote." Shaka slid the medallion into his pocket. "We won't need votes. We'll need proof." "Proof of what?" "Who burned Moonfang?" Shaka said, rising. The scar across his throat caught the lamplight. "Someone's using my crest. I'm going to find out who." Yehoshua hesitated. "And if that someone's a great house?" Shaka's eyes hardened. "Then they'll lose more than a crest." A sound interrupted them. The scrape of boots in the hall. 2 steps. Pause. 2 steps. Pause. Not patrol rhythm. Shaka raised a hand for silence. The footsteps retreated quick and light. Yehoshua moved toward the door, but Shaka stopped him with a look. "No alarm," he said quietly. "Whoever it is has friends." A heartbeat later, the fortress inhaled, then exploded. The first blast split the night in white fire. The shock wave rattled the walls, snuffed torches, and threw a wave of heat through every corridor. "Downstairs, now!" Zaria barked, already moving. Ameekah pivoted, cloak flaring crimson. "Move!" The corridors erupted into panic. Envoys shouting, guards shoving through smoke. Horns blared, then cut off mid-note. They took the stairs 2 at a time. The lower hall was chaos. Flames crawling the drapes over Silver Reef's crest, glass crunching underfoot, masked rogues cutting through the haze with short knives. "Rogues!" Zaria hissed. "Trained ones!" Ameekah's gaze locked on a rogue's bracer. A burned fang and anvil, the same mark she'd seen in firelight the night her home fell. Her pulse spiked. Down! She met the first attacker head-on, caught his wrist, twisted until the bone popped, and drove her elbow into his jaw. Another lunged. Zarya dropped him with a strike to the knee, then the throat. A Moonfang guard pushed Ameekah behind a column. Get back! His warning ended in a grunt as a blade cut across his shoulder. He stayed upright long enough to shield her before collapsing. Something inside her snapped. Now, Nyra said. Heat surged through Ameekah's body, spine cracking, vision sharpening until she could see every movement through the smoke. She hit the floor on 4 paws, smaller than most, faster than all. Light shimmered over her fur, crimson shot with gold. Her eyes burned like the basin's reflection. She tore through 2 rogues before the rest understood what they were facing. A bolt hit her shoulder. Ward charge, searing. She spun, broke the shooter's wrist, and threw him into the fire. Left, she warned herself, moving like instinct given form. Zarya fought beside her, calm and ruthless. A roar cut through the din, deep, commanding. Shaka stormed through the smoke, Yehoshua at his flank, Ironclaw soldiers behind him in formation. He didn't slow. The first rogue fell to an elbow, the second to a knife through the ribs. Then he saw her. The world tilted. Power hit like a heartbeat too hard. Every sense locked on her. The scent of smoke, blood, and something warmer, familiar. He didn't think. He moved toward her. They met in the middle of the hall, fighting in perfect rhythm, backs almost touching. Left, he warned. She ducked. He grabbed an arm and drove a man into the floor. She lunged, hit, and kept moving. Through the smoke, a scarred rogue stepped forward, branded, eyes wild. Shaka's voice dropped to a growl. Where did you get that mark? The man laughed, blood on his teeth. From the forge that will break you. He attacked fast. Trained. Shaka blocked, countered, and drove him back. Nyra circled, waited, then hit from behind, taking the man to his knees. Shaka finished it. A clean, brutal strike. Too late, the rogue coughed. They're lighting the next one. Sellers. Yehoshua, Shaka barked. I'm on it! The whine started again. A high mechanical scream from below. They're trying to collapse the eastern hall, Ameekah thought. Then we stop them, Nyra answered. They ran. Down the corridor, smoke thickened. A side door hung open. Yehoshua stumbled out, coughing. Charges on the casks, he rasped. We got 3. One's still alive. I can't reach it. The floor's gone. Show me. The air burned like a forge. A single beam spanned the pit, fire licking its sides. A blinking metal charge sat in the middle. Nyra stepped forward. We can hold it. Shaka nodded and followed her onto the beam, reaching for the device. Sweat rolled down his neck. His hands worked the pins with steady precision. Faster, Yehoshua called. Quiet, Shaka snapped. Nyra braced harder, muscles trembling. One pin freed, then another. The third jammed. Left, Ameekah thought, her voice cutting through him like a spark. Click. The timer stopped. Shaka exhaled, tossed the charge to Yehoshua, who plunged it into the sand. They backed out together into cooler air. Shaka leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Nyra watched him. A wolf's calm, a woman's awareness. You heard me, he said quietly. She said nothing. She didn't need to. Footsteps thundered down the hall. Guardians, envoys, wounded alphas. Zarya appeared, streaked with soot. Fires contained. Shadow Bay lost 1. Silver Reef, 2. No collapse. 4 Ironclaw soldiers dragged the branded rogue forward, fear replacing arrogance. Thane arrived last, soot in his gray hair, Shaman Malak beside him. Who did this? Thane demanded. Shaka lifted the rogue's arm, showing the burned insignia. Someone who wants Ironclaw blamed. This wasn't random, Zarya said. They knew where to hit. Thane nodded grimly. Bind him. He answers at the basin at first light. Outside, the first pale light broke across the sea. Smoke drifted like ghosts over the cliffs. The fortress exhaled, wounded but alive. Shaka looked across the hall. Ameekah stood human again, blood on her face, hair damp from sweat and rain. Their eyes met. No words, just the pulse of something neither of them could name. "I'll find who did this," he said, "and if it's one of mine, I'll deal with it." She held his gaze. "Then we both have work to do." And wind caught the banners and twisted them once before letting go. From far below, a single wolf howled, low, broken, and answering her own. Nira stirred in her chest. "The fire wasn't meant to end you," she whispered. "It was meant to find you." Ameekah let the morning wind hit her face, the smoke sting her eyes and clear them. "Then let it find the right wolves," she said, and turned toward the basin where truth waited with teeth. The grand hall still smelled of smoke and gunmetal. The roof was cracked open to daylight, and the walls carried scorch marks like bruises. No one was calm, just contained. Ameekah stood before the moon basin, her reflection fractured in the liquid light. The surface shimmered, silver tangled with red, as if deciding which side it trusted. Across the room, Shaka watched her. His expression was carved from control, but his pulse was not. Every time she moved, something in him answered. "Enough," she said, her voice cutting through the shouts. "We almost died last night, every one of us. Whoever did that wanted silence. So stop arguing about whose pride got singed and start asking who wanted this room burned." The command in her tone silenced even the great houses. Malik stepped forward. "The basin remembers. It saw who bled." Thane tried to stand taller. "You have no authority to—" The basin flared crimson. Gasps rose. The light crawled across the floor, burning shadows off the walls. Thane's staff cracked down the middle. Malik didn't move. "There's your authority." The guardians recoiled, the outer claws pressed forward, anger breaking through fear. Ameekah spoke again, steady, sharp. "Someone wanted us gone. That's not politics. That's execution." Shaka stepped closer to the basin. "Then we hunt them." His voice was low, rough and final, and when he looked at her, the rest of the hall disappeared. The bond slammed into them both, wordless, raw, the kind of pull that didn't ask for permission. His breath shortened. Her heart caught its rhythm. It wasn't just heat, it was recognition. The way the air thickened between them felt physical, like gravity learning a new direction. Ameekah's pulse thudded against her collarbone. She didn't step back. Neither did he. The basin reacted, light rising between them in twisting threads of silver and red. The crowd gasped again. No one knew what they were seeing, only that they could feel it. Malik's voice carried through the silence. "The moon binds what arrogance divides." The glow coiled tighter around them both, then dimmed. When it faded, the two stood opposite each other, unmoved, unbroken, but changed. Ameekah lifted her chin. "Then let's rebuild," she said softly, the words measured but trembling underneath. Shaka's eyes tracked the slight tremor in her hands before she hid them behind her back. His jaw flexed once. "We'll find whoever tried to end us," he said, each word controlled like a weapon's safety still on. The basin pulsed once, light reflecting in his eyes, gold swallowed by silver. Malak turned toward the crowd. "The goddess has spoken. Balance replaces rule. The Council of 20 begins tonight." The wolves erupted, half howls, half disbelief. Ameekah turned toward the broken doors. Daylight cut across her like a spotlight. Behind her, Shaka didn't move. He watched every step she took, the tilt of her head, the heat that refused to fade even with distance. She didn't look back, but she felt it. His gaze, heavy as a touch she shouldn't want. When the howling stopped, the hall was silent again. Only the sound of the basin remained, a low hum, steady and alive, pulsing in time with two hearts that refused to let go. The fortress was quieter now, but not calm. Every step down its corridor still hummed with leftover adrenaline, as if the walls remembered the explosion. The council had disbanded hours ago. Half the packs were still arguing inside halls, voices sharp and accusing. The rest went silent, planning their next move. Shaka should have been among them. Instead, he stalked the upper level alone, fury simmering under control that felt thinner by the hour. Fury at the guardians for their lies, fury at the rogues for their audacity, fury at himself, for the way he'd looked at her when the basin lit up. He told himself it was nothing, instinct, proximity, nerves. But the lie wouldn't hold. The pull was still there, steady, merciless. It pulsed under his ribs like a heartbeat that didn't belong to him. He stopped outside the Guardian's library without realizing it. The door was cracked open. Moonlight spilled across the marble floor, catching dust in its beam. And there she was. Ameekah stood by the long center table, the soft silver glow painting her in calm she didn't feel. Her jacket hung over the chair, sleeves rolled to her elbows, posture rigid. She was reading reports, or pretending to. He should have walked past. Instead, he stepped in. The latch clicked behind him. She didn't turn. "You planning to make a habit of following me?" "Just making sure you weren't about to start another revolution," he said. Her eyes lifted, sharp and unreadable. "You look disappointed." He came closer, every step measured. "I was hoping you'd say something reckless again. It suits you." "That was leadership, not recklessness." "Sounded like fire to me." "Maybe you're just flammable." He almost smiled. Almost. The air between them thickened again, that same invisible current from the basin. It shouldn't have been possible, but it was worse now, tighter, more personal. His wolf stirred low inside him. "She feels it too." He forced his hands behind his back. "You should rest. You should stop telling me what to do." He exhaled through his nose, half a laugh, half surrender. "Fair." Her gaze dropped to his chest, where the faint glow of the Ironclaw mark still bled through the fabric. "It's still burning," she said quietly. "So is yours." "I didn't ask it to." "Neither did I." The silence turned heavier, not awkward, just dangerous. He took another step. She didn't move back. "You've got something," he murmured, her brow lifted. "What?" He reached up, brushed a small flake of ash from her hair. His fingertips grazed her temple. A tiny touch, but it felt like striking flint. The air snapped. For one heartbeat, no one breathed. He dropped his hand, jaw tight. "There. Gone." "You could have just said so," she whispered. Didn't seem as effective. Her lips curved unwillingly. "You really don't know when to stop." He leaned in just enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath. "You really don't want me to." The bond pulsed. Fierce, alive, undeniable. Her pulse stumbled once, then steadied. "If you think that line's going to work..." It wasn't a line. His voice was softer now, roughened by restraint. "It's a warning." She stared at him, not frightened, just furious at herself for wanting to close the distance. Finally, she stepped back, breaking the tension with a small, sharp breath. "You should go." "Then tell me to," he said. "I just did." He hesitated, then smiled, slow and dangerous. "Next time, make it sound like you mean it." He turned and left before he said something worse. Outside the door, he paused, head bowed, breathing like he'd just come from battle. "You're losing this," his wolf said quietly. "I know." "And you don't want to win." He didn't answer. Inside, Ameekah gripped the table edge, her reflection staring back from the polished wood. Her pulse hadn't slowed. She let out a shaky breath. "Why does he have to smell that good?" Naira's voice murmured, low and amused. "Because the universe has a sense of humor, and apparently we're the punchline." The council chamber was a storm barely contained. Shouts ricocheted off marble and glass, the sound of wolves trying not to turn on one another. Ameekah stopped just outside the threshold. "Let me speak first," she said. Shaka folded his arms. "You think they'll listen?" "I don't need them to listen," she said. "I need them to hear." He smirked, but there was something like pride behind it. "Then I'll walk beside you." "Good," she said, "because I'm done standing alone." The guards swung the doors open. The room snapped to attention. Banners scorched, the basin's surface trembling like it was eavesdropping. Malak stood by the crystal rim, voice steady despite the chaos. "The council reconvenes. The moon's light has judged, but man's order has not." Before he could say more, the shouting began again. Melik of Coral Fang slammed his hand on the table. "You'll blame the Guardians and call yourselves clean? Thane signed my routes, but who signed his?" "You, Melik," another alpha barked. "You funded half the raids." Louder voices joined in. "The basin burned your mark." "Show us your ledgers." Thane stumbled back, sweat streaking the ash on his collar. You think I did this alone? Shaka's tone cut through like a blade. Then name who helped you. Thane pointed straight at Melek. Him! He armed the rogues. The hall erupted, chairs scraping, wolves half-shifting, banners rippling in the draft of growls. The basin flared again, a pulse of white heat that made every metal in the room vibrate. Enough! Malak shouted. The moon's done judging! Now it's our turn to act. But Ameekah stepped forward, voice clear and cutting. Then start with those who use the basin's light as camouflage. Melek's face twisted. Watch your tone, girl. Shaka's growl rumbled low. Call her that again. The sound wasn't loud, but it rolled through every rib in the hall. Melek froze mid-breath. The basin shivered again, silver over red. The ground trembled once, warning them all. Malak slammed his staff. Enough blood for one night. This summit is closed until first light. Closed? Melek spat. You think you can seal us in? The gates obey the basin, Malak said, and the basin obeys balance. None of you leave until it's restored. Ameekah turned sharply. Zarya, we're done here. Shaka followed without permission. Zarya moved to block the hallway. Alpha Ironclaw, she said coolly. She doesn't need company. Shaka stopped a step away. Move. I said. The air changed. It thickened, dense, alive, humming with dominance. Zarya's words caught in her throat. Her knees hit the marble before she understood why. The sound of her breath hitched, low and shocked. Yehoshua's voice thundered down the corridor. Alpha! The pressure snapped. The weight lifted. Zarya gasped in air. Yehoshua caught her elbow before she collapsed. She's her beta, Yehoshua said, steady but tense. You can't release aura on a bonded pack. Shaka blinked once, guilt flashing through the heat. I didn't mean to. Zarya's hand shook as she pushed up. You don't do that unless... Her eyes widened. You're mates. The silence afterward was deafening. Ameekah's throat went dry. Zarya, not now. You knew. Zarya's voice broke between disbelief and hurt. You felt it and said nothing? Because it changes nothing, Ameekah said, voice sharp. We still have a war to stop. Zarya stepped back, heart racing, pride wounded. Then handle your bond, Alpha. Before it handles you. She turned away, breath shaky, and walked off toward the stairwell. Yehoshua followed, his glare cutting through Shaka. You're losing control, he said under his breath. And the moment you do, every wolf in this fortress will feel it. Shaka's reply was raw. I already do. Ameekah pushed through the marble door and braced on the sink. Her reflection looked feral, pupils sharp, light pulsing under her skin. The door opened again. I said give me space. I tried, Shaka said, voice rough. Didn't take. She turned. The distance between them was too small, too charged. If you think this bond means anything... I don't, he said. I wish it didn't. He took a slow step closer. But pretending it's not there? That's the real lie, her pulse stumbled. Then fight it. Then reject it. His gaze darkened. You think I haven't tried? The heat in the room changed, a current that climbed from the floor to her throat. He was close enough now that the air between them flickered like static. Don't, she whispered. Don't what? Don't look at me like that. Like what? His voice dropped low, dangerous. Like you're mine? Her hands trembled. Fury, attraction, disbelief tangled together. I'm not yours, he smiled without humor. Tell that to your pulse. Then the silence broke. Fast, reckless. He caught her wrist. She didn't flinch, she lunged. The collision was rough, desperate. Mouths meeting like a challenge neither meant to start. The moment she broke it, her hand cracked across his jaw. Don't ever do that again. He didn't move. You're stronger than they know, he said quietly. That's what scares them. Leave. He did. Door slamming like a shot. Ameekah gripped the counter, chest heaving. The glow beneath her skin pulsed brighter. You liked it, Nira murmured. I didn't. You did, the wolf said, gentler now. That's why it burns. By the time she stepped back out, Zarya was waiting. Her eyes were cool but loyal. You good? No, Ameekah said honestly, but I'm standing. That's enough for now. Across the hall, Shaka stood beside Yehoshua. Neither spoke, but both watched the room as if waiting for the next betrayal. Malak's voice cut through the tension. Until balance is written, the gates remain sealed. The basin's verdict stands. Whispers rose. Panic and plotting in equal measure. Malak and the remaining guardians leaned in close, eyes flicking toward Thane. Ameekah saw the exchange. Something's brewing, Zaria muttered. Ameekah's jaw set. Then let it. I'm done reacting. The basin pulsed once, silver over red, a warning heartbeat. Her grandmother's voice rose again, firm and low. The fire wasn't your ending, child. It was the test. Ameekah lifted her chin, shoulders squaring as she looked across the room. To Shaka, to the basin, to every watching eye. Then we start the reckoning, she said. The council doors stood open, torchlight bleeding across marble like fire trapped under glass. Ameekah adjusted the cuff of her crimson suit. Sharp lines, sharper purpose. She felt him before she saw him. Heat, gravity, a tension that clung to her spine. Shaka was already there, boots set wide, that unreadable amber-green gaze cutting straight through her composure. He took her in once, head to heel, and moved to her side without a word. Her scent reached him, low and lethal. Vanilla, smoke, the faint hush of coconut. His lungs locked. The alpha of Ironclaw, the wolf every lesser feared, nearly buckled. Yehoshua caught his arm. Alpha, I'm fine, Shaka muttered. Azar's growl curled up from the dark inside him. You want to devour her, here and now. Shaka's jaw flexed. Down, Azar. They crossed the threshold together. Inside, the hall pulsed with power. 7 great houses at the long table, 13 lesser alphas crowding the ring. The basin glowed in the center, steady and judging. Zaria slid in beside Ameekah. Yehoshua flanked Shaka. Every movement was calculated. Dangerous choreography. Shaman Malak raised his staff. Order! Ameekah set her palms on the table. Enough talk. Borders, food, proof. No speeches, facts and receipts only. A wiry voice broke the air. Our pups are sick, said the Coral Reach Alpha. Healers' shelves are empty. We begged for aid. No one came. The room went still. Shaka leaned forward, voice dropping to iron. Who denied you? Eyes darted. A Golden Coast envoy shifted. The Coral Reach Alpha swallowed hard. Convoy were redirected. Shaka's palm hit the table, a crack like thunder. Stand! Every alpha who ignored a call for food or medicine, stand now. 2 lesser alphas rose, pale and sweating. The torches hissed. Remember their faces, Shaka said to the room. They let their own starve. He turned to the 2. You'll load the wagons and lead them. And until the last crate reaches Moonfang's line, you'll live on whatever's left. A mutter rolled through the chamber. The great houses bristled. Ameekah didn't flinch. When it's done, she said, return here with names, timestamps, and every seal. No missing crates, no excuses. The basin's light pulsed once, bright, sharp, as if the goddess herself approved. Malak of Coralfang barked from the table, his voice rough with pride. You order us like servants. You may hold a seat, but you haven't earned the right to use it. Who are you to command us? Ameekah met his glare without flinching. Then maybe that's the problem. Before he could speak again, Shaka's voice cut through, low and deadly. She just did. Test her again, and you'll answer to me. Vanilla filled his lungs, warm and sharp. Wild cedar and dark chocolate answered. Iron under sugar. Heat pressed against his ribs. His vision thinned at the edges. Yehoshua stepped closer, hands steady on Shaka's forearm. Alpha, he said low. Control. Azar's voice flooded him. She steadies you because you'd burn this room to the ground otherwise. Don't pretend you don't feel how right that would be. Shaka swallowed hard. Show the roots, he said aloud. Every manifest from the last 30 days. Timestamps only. No edits. We cross-check every escort roster against port logs. Ameekah's tone stayed cool. Mixed verification starts now. 1 great house, 1 lesser. 2 signatures per seal. Tamper with it, and the basin will show you. The basin flared again, scenting lies in the air. The coral reach alpha twitched, tried to step back. Guilt, sour and thick, hit every nose. Shaka moved before anyone could stop him. One step, one reach. His hand clamped around the man's jaw and twisted. A single dry snap. Silence. The alpha hit the floor like a dropped stone. The second man turned to run. Shaka caught him mid-stride, spun him by the neck. Another sharp, sickening crack. 2 thuds, 2 bodies, the sound echoing against marble like a gavel hitting bone. Yehoshua stepped forward, voice tight. Alpha! Shaka didn't blink. Their betas finished the job they started. Get the wagons moving. The basin glowed silver red, a soft hum beneath the horror. The goddess didn't intervene. Zaria was already moving, issuing orders, voice slicing through chaos. Yehoshua barked names. Runners sprinted through the doors. The hall crackled with urgency and fear. Ameekah's chest rose once, controlled. Naira's voice hummed low. You didn't break. You led. Ameekah straightened. Every crate leaves by nightfall. Confirmed delivery at every stop. And if anyone here dares take from what they promised, she glanced at the bodies. Consider this your warning. The basin flared again, the voice of the goddess vibrating through the stone. Blood hides behind banners. Shadows wear crowns. When the next moon rises, truth will burn what's false. Fail me, and the fire will choose new hands. The chamber fell silent. Wolves bowed their heads, not in worship, but in understanding. Shaka turned to them, voice steady as steel. You heard her. Find your runners, move the supplies. Zaria, handle the manifests. Yehoshua, map the routes. I want proof by morning. Runners scattered. The hall emptied in urgent waves. The survivors avoided the marble near Shaka's boots. When the last voice faded, Ameekah looked up. 4 weeks, she said quietly. Shaka's answer came low. 1 moon. They stepped out together, side by side. Yehoshua and Zaria trailed them, alert, uncertain. Vanilla and cedar lingered between them like static before lightning. Behind them, the basin pulsed one final time, whispering into the dark, Choose well, my wolves. The fire remembers. The last of the runners had gone when Malik's voice carried over the quiet. Lock the guardians in the west wing, he said. No meetings, no messages. They answer to the basin when this council reconvenes. 2 stewards moved immediately, silver ropes and seals in hand. Thane didn't fight. None of them did. Their robes were scorched, their faces hollow. The light that had crowned them for generations was gone, and in its place, fear. Shaka watched as the doors sealed behind them, iron bolts sliding into stone. Let them sit with what they built, he said, voice flat. Ameekah's gaze followed the sound of the lock. They won't last long in silence. Then the silence will finish what the fire started. The basin dimmed to its lowest pulse. No one spoke again. The summit slept under armed watch, its walls too heavy with secrets to breathe. The note waited where it hadn't been 5 minutes ago. Thick paper, clean ink, left at the edge of Ameekah's desk like a dare. Step back, or your grandmother pays the price. She folded it once between her fingers, then smoothed it flat. Fear didn't slow her. It just made her aim sharper. The door opened without a knock. Shaka filled the frame. Sleeves rolled, eyes sharp, the kind of quiet that warned before words did. You may be my mate, she said, not turning, but don't walk in like you own me. He stopped close enough for her to feel the shift in the air. I don't. But your heartbeat changed, and I don't like slow answers. She handed him the note. He read it once. The room seemed to contract around him. Azar's voice rose inside him, low and molten. Find who sent it. Finish it. Who moves first, he asked. Golden Coast, she said, sliding a manifest across the desk. Dock 7. Night logs don't add up. The council chamber hummed with tension. 20 banners lined the walls, all of them equal now. 7 great houses and 13 lesser. 1 table. No hierarchy. But the air said otherwise. Ameekah set the manifest down. Dock 7's shipments went missing. Crates marked for clinics. Someone's feeding greed while people starve. A few exchanged looks. Seagaleet's jaw flexed. Bring my dockmaster. A man was dragged in, pale, trembling, trying to look smaller than his guilt. What's your name? Ameekah asked. Darren, he said. Darren Pike. Who paid you to move medical shipments at night? He hesitated. Broker. Serpent Key. Name's Ray Voss. Said the orders were clean. Golden Coast approved the seals. I just followed protocol? Steele whispered. The rest of his sentence never made it out. Seagaleet's blade slid through the air, and the dockmaster dropped, blood painting the marble. You carried my mark, she said quietly. You used it to steal. That's what following protocol cost. Chaos surged. What the hell? Did she just... Is somebody going to get a mop, or... Are we really sitting here like nothing happened? First Ironclaw snaps 2 necks, now Golden Coast slices a throat? Is that the new order? Kill it and call it justice? Shaka's palm hit the table, stone cracking under his hand. Enough! The word carried like a strike. The noise died. Everyone deserves justice, he said. But justice moves when truth stops hiding. Sit, or start running. The sound of chairs scraping back was the only reply. Ameekah turned to the Guardians. You rerouted supplies, took the money, called it stability. Why? Thane's face caved under the weight of it. Because the Basin chose you, he said. We saw what was coming and panicked. Some thought if we controlled the flow, we could control the outcome. Malik's staff didn't move, but his voice carried like a verdict. You didn't control the outcome, he said. You buried it. That silence ends today. A lesser alpha spoke up from down the table. We don't want war. Ameekah's gaze cut him in half. You already had war. You just got used to losing quietly. The man sat. Malak's tone turned cold. Guardians remain under watch. They answer under the Basin before sundown. That was the end of the debate. Yehoshua slipped through the side door, breath sharp, tablet in hand. He passed it to Shaka. Shaka read it once. Dock 7. Movement now. Small boats. Crates labeled for clinics. Ameekah's jaw set. Then we move. Seagaleet cleaned her blade. I'm coming. Melik of Coral Fang leaned back, smirking. So that's it? No vote? No strategy? Shaka's look was cold steel. Strategy's what you do when you're late. They stood. Shaka, Ameekah, Seagaleet, Zaria, Yehoshua, and left the chamber in silence. Dock 7 was a storm waiting to break. The tide slammed the pylons, torches burning thin in the wind. Positions, Shaka said. No survivors except Voss. Zaria arched a brow. Define no survivors. You'll know when you see it. They moved. Wolves hit the pier fast. Moonfang and Ironclaw in sync, swift and silent. Gunfire cracked. Steel flashed. Salt burned. Yehoshua dropped one with a knee to the ribs. Zaria slammed another through a crate. Where's Voss? Shaka barked. A dockhand coughed blood. Gone, left an hour ago. Said if the Basin came for him, he'd meet it halfway. What the hell does that mean? A voice drifted on the wind. Means he already did. They turned. Rafe Voss hung from a chain over the cliff, eyes glazed, head bowed to the sea. Below him, crates marked clinic relief drifted loose in the current. Ameekah exhaled, voice low. He didn't even get to confess. Shaka's gaze swept the horizon. Someone's cleaning house. Then let's get dirty, she said. When they came back, the chamber felt smaller. The storm followed them in. Half the alphas remained, stiff and silent. What the hell happened out there? One of the older alphas demanded. You disappear for an hour and come back looking like war? Another scoffed, trying for humor and failing. Please tell me this isn't another neck-snapping situation. The smell just cleared. Voss is dead, Ameekah said. Hung over the cliffs before we reached him. The table erupted. Who killed him? Was it one of ours? What if this spreads? Enough, she snapped. Whoever's doing this isn't cleaning corruption. They're covering it, which means they're sitting at this table or standing behind one of you. The Basin pulsed red. The air thickened. She looked at Shaka, eyes steady. I'm done whispering. He took a step closer, tension rolling off him like smoke. You sure you want to start that fire in a room full of gasoline? She didn't blink. It's already burning. For a long moment, no one breathed. Then he leaned in, voice rough, dangerous. Careful, Alpha. I bite. Her smile was slow, electric. I bite back. The air snapped tight. The basin flared silver and red beneath their feet. Across the bond, Azar laughed. She's got you by the balls, Ironclaw. Admit it. Shaka's jaw flexed. She's not supposed to. Then stop looking at her like she cut them off. Ameekah turned away, that sly, knowing smile ghosting her lips. He watched her go, pulse hammering, barely keeping his wolf chained. Every alpha at the table felt it. The shift, the change, the spark of something they couldn't stop now if they tried. Malik's voice came last, quiet but final. The basin has spoken. We cleanse, or we burn. Ameekah didn't look back. Then light the match. Silence fell like thunder. This wasn't politics anymore. It was war. First light split the skyline like a blade. The summit was over. The banners were torn down, the marble scrubbed clean, but the air still reeked of smoke and blood. The great houses had scattered back to their lands. The guardians waited in chains, the basin's justice looming. Ameekah didn't care about justice. Her grandmother was missing. Doc 7 had given her one clue, a scrap of gold-threaded cloth tangled in a mooring rope. Her grandmother's prayer shawl. The scent was wrong. Oil, ash, and rogue musk. Enough to freeze her blood. By the time anyone realized she was gone, she was already cutting through the forest with Zaria and 5 Moonfang sentries. The trail led inland, beneath the cliffs, where old smuggler roots hid like veins in stone. Every instinct screamed closer. Shaka felt her absence before the scout said a word. The bond flared. One sharp pull, then silence. She's gone, Azar growled. Following the rogues. Then we hunt, Shaka said, already moving. Ironclaw shifted mid-stride, fur breaking through skin, claws biting earth. Yehoshua led the flank, eyes scanning for Moonfang signals. He caught it. Faint burn of coconut and steel in the wind. She's close, Azar said. She's breathing, Shaka answered. That's enough. The trees opened into a ravine thick with fog. Wires laced the ground, jammers blinking red. Rogues, at least a dozen, dragging crates through the haze. They've blocked the link, Yehoshua warned. Shaka's eyes glowed green. Then we make noise. He crouched, black fur rippling, muscles coiled. Then silver light cut through the mist. Nearer. Ameekah's wolf hit the clearing like a storm made flesh. No sound, just precision and fury. Ironclaw hit first, fast and brutal. Yehoshua swept low, breaking a rogue's jaw with one strike. Zaria carved through the flank before they could reload. Then Nira took over completely. She didn't ask permission. She was permission. Azar met her in the center of the chaos, black and silver colliding, violence wrapped in rhythm. Sparks hissed through the fog. You fight like you're trying to impress me, he growled. You couldn't handle it if I did, she shot back. The ground trembled. Blood hit stone. Then a new scent sliced through the air. Melik. He stood by the command crate, human again, surrounded by rogues, still pretending he had control. Ameekah shifted mid-leap, landing barefoot, crimson suit torn, eyes burning silver. She didn't speak. She moved. Her claws, half-formed, slashed across his face, temple to jaw. Blood spilled fast. Traitor, she said, voice flat, for every pup you starved. Her hand fisted in his collar. Where's my grandmother? Melik spat blood, teeth pink. Maybe she saw what you've become, and ran. Her expression didn't change, but the air did. The temperature dropped. The basin itself could have frozen on her tone. She raised her arm to finish him. Ameekah. Shaka's voice, not a command, a tether. He caught her wrist before the strike landed, his hand burning against her skin. The contact froze everything. The world, the noise, even time. Not yet, he said quietly. He dies when you say so. Not when he thinks he's won. For a moment she didn't breathe. Then Nira's growl came low, reluctant but controlled. Later, she exhaled, pulling back. Melek collapsed to the dirt, bleeding and broken. "Bind him," Shaka ordered. Yehoshua and Zaria moved fast, ropes snapping around Melek's wrists. The rogues that survived ran. The rest didn't. Shaka turned to her, bare chest, breath steady, eyes still wild. "You're shaking." "I'm steady," he smirked. "Liar." They stood inches apart, breath mingling. The clearing crackling was static. Then, "Jammers still live," Yehoshua shouted. Red lights blinked faster, hotter. "Shaka!" The blast hit before the sound reached them. Light swallowed the clearing. Heat roared through the air, and the world went white. Sound came back in fragments. A hiss, a heartbeat, the crackle of burning leaves. Ameekah pushed herself up, lungs full of smoke and blood. The sky pulsed red through the haze. Trees split and burning around what was left of the rogue camp. Her ears rang so hard she almost missed the groans of the dying. "Zaria!" she rasped. No answer. Naira's voice tore through the static. "Up! Move! They'll circle back!" Ameekah rolled to her knees, muscles screaming, but alive. Her wolf forced adrenaline through her blood, sealing cuts, sharpening every sense. Two rogues crept through the wreckage, rifles slung low. Scavengers. Naira didn't ask. She took. The silver wolf ripped free, launching forward like lightning. One bite, one twist. The first rogue dropped. The second barely turned before she hit him. Claws across his chest, clean and final. "Good," Nira snarled. "Now find him." Shaka's world was fire and ringing metal. When he pulled himself from the dirt, half the ridge was gone. Smoke clawed the air. The scent of burnt fur turned his stomach. "Yehoshua!" "Nothing." "She's alive," Azar said. "You'd feel it if she weren't." That was enough. Shaka's bones shifted mid-step, the black wolf tearing through smoke and flame, eyes blazing green. He ran east, through ash, through shattered trees, through the scent that dragged him like a hook. He found her standing over three bodies, silver fur slick with blood, tail low but steady. When their eyes met, the world stopped. She shifted first, breath uneven, hair matted with sweat and soot. Energy shimmered over her, reforming her crimson battlesuit from the tethered fibers of her aura. The moon's blessing made sure alphas never stood bare before others. He shifted next, the black wolf melting back into the man. His dark jacket and trousers formed like smoke drawn to a purpose. His gaze swept the wreckage, then locked on her. "You took your time," she said. He rolled his shoulders. "You always this hard to babysit?" "Try to keep up next time." He took a step closer. Her scent hit him, vanilla and coconut beneath the ash, and his control slipped a fraction. Azar's voice cut through his skull. "You're not breathing because of the smoke." "Shut up," Shaka snapped. He reached for her, fingers brushing the side of her neck. Her pulse matched his. Sharp, fast, undeniable. "You should stay back," she said. He didn't move. "Can't." The space between them vanished. He pulled her in, chest to chest, heat to heat. His mouth found the curve of her throat, slow, reverent. His claws grazed her skin just enough to make her breath catch. "Shaka." "Yeah? You're bleeding." "So are you." He laughed low and rough, the sound breaking against her skin. Then, "Alpha!" Yehoshua stumbled through the smoke, covered in ash and shock. "Thank the goddess you're—" Shaka turned. His aura rolled out like a shockwave. Yehoshua dropped instantly to one knee, head bowed, throat bared. Shaka exhaled. "Glad you're alive," he said evenly. "But your timing's terrible." "Yes, Alpha." Ameekah's laugh slipped through the smoke. Soft, dangerous, almost tender. Zaria emerged next, limping but alert. The rogues scattered north. Melek's trail goes with them, and something else. Blood that's not ours. Ameekah's eyes hardened. "My grandmother." Shaka's jaw flexed. "Then we go north." He looked at her, smoke curling behind her like wings. "We finish this." Nira's voice hummed inside her mind, calm and sure. "Together." Izar growled back, rough and final. And this time, no survivors. They turned toward the burning horizon, two shadows moving as one. The hunt wasn't over. It had just begun. The Guardian's fortress didn't feel holy anymore, just hollow. Moonlight slid through the broken roof in cold sheets, turning dust into glitter that no one cared to look at. The place smelled like old prayers, wet stone, and regret. Their packs ringed the chamber. Wolves who used to bow without thinking, now standing with arms crossed and jaws tight. No banners, no basin, just a cracked floor, a ring of eyes, and the truth. Thane knelt in the center, wrists cinched with an iron cord, robe torn, mouth dry. Across from him, Malik stood with his staff planted like a line no one else got to cross. By your own words, Malik said, steady, no theatrics, you funneled cash to rogues, rerouted medical shipments, and left families hungry. Why? Thane lifted his head. The man looked smaller without a title. Because fear is easier to manage than loyalty, he said, voice rough. We told ourselves it was stability, that starving the noise would keep the peace. He tried to smile and failed. We were wrong. A growl rolled through the circle. Someone snapped. You kept clinics empty while you paid men to burn houses. Thane flinched but didn't argue. We tried to shut it down before the summit, he added, but Malik saw a hole and turned it into a hallway. He built something out past the Ash Coast. Calls it Haven. Malik didn't blink. Where? Thane's eyes shifted toward the dark cut of sky through the roof. Cliff line past the Blackwater stretch, old smuggler caverns laced with new steel. It's half rock, half machine. He's stockpiling bodies and guns there, waiting on the full moon. The floor seemed to breathe. Everyone felt that clock in their ribs. And Nadia of Moonfang? Malik asked. Thane swallowed. Alive, and he said, for now, he keeps her caged under the eastern gantry. He needs her blood for the old rites, the ones that bend light without asking permission. A ripple of disbelief hit the walls and came back thinner. Her wolf's fading, Thane added quieter. When the bond snaps, the fire that blessed you two, it turns on everyone. Why tell it now? Malik asked. Because the moon stopped answering me, Thane said, empty. She's answering them. He nodded toward the fractured horizon, the fog glowing faint silver. And if they don't find her before the full moon, it's over. He looked at Malik again, voice raw. Tell the Moonfang Alpha. Whatever's on the Ash Coast, it hears you coming. The circle broke into noise. Accusations, curses, the wet scrape of someone spitting on stone. Coward, traitor. Chain him with the rest. Malik didn't lift his staff. He didn't need to. He faces judgment with the other, he said. No more shadows. No more robes. Thane's pack pulled him up. As they dragged him toward the side cells, he twisted once over his shoulder. Haven's vents breathe with the tide, he said, like a last offering. When the sea pulls, the east gantry hums. That's your window. The door slammed. For a beat, nobody moved. Then from the far arch came a sound like breath catching. Fast pause on stone, a skidding stop. A scout dropped to one knee in front of Malik, chest heaving. Moonfang signal, she got out. North Ridge picked up the Alpha's mark in the forest 2 hours ago. Jammer fields flickered, then she shook her head. Explosions. Then quiet. Malik's eyes narrowed. Alive? 2 heartbeats reading Alpha range, the scout said. 1 Ironclaw, 1 Moonfang. Then the signal dipped. Malik turned toward the broken roof. Then may the goddess be faster than we were. Across the island, the wind shifted. A silver blur cut through fog on the horizon, and a black one ran beside it. 2 wolves, breathing like engines, closing in on a coast that shouldn't exist. The hunt had started again. The moon hung low, bleeding red across the horizon, its reflection shattered on the black water, streaked by wind and ash. The air off the Ash Coast was cold, sharp, smelling of iron, oil, and dying magic. Ameekah's wolf led the pack, silver light slicing through fog. Every nerve locked on one scent, Nadia. It trailed through cracked cliffs and down to a hidden inlet where the waves hissed against steel pylons. Haven, Shaka growled. Below them, the fortress pulsed faint red, generators humming under layers of plated iron, lights flickering through the fog like veins. Men patrolled the docks with rifles that gleamed wet in the moonlight. Zarya crouched beside them, eyes narrowing. Those aren't old-world weapons. That's human tech, jammers, motion grids. He's expecting an army. He'll get one, Shaka said. Pairs. When the fog thickens, we move Azar, rumbled under his skin. No more talking. Let them remember what we are. When the fog rolled in, it erased sound, and the wolves descended. They came from the cliffs, the surf, the shadows. Claws tore through steel. Muzzles flared. The sea roared with screams and gunfire until the air turned metallic. Yehoshua shredded a tower clean from its base. Zaria's team carved through jammers with precision strikes. Ameekah and Shaka cut straight for the heart of the base, the carved stone chambers where the cages lay. Nira surged forward inside her, cold, focused. He's close. He stinks of rot and smoke. They found her. Nadia lay chained to a dais of black stone, her breath ragged, her skin pulsing with faint silver veins that glowed like dying embers. Ameekah shifted mid-step, ignoring the burn. She dropped to her knees. "Grandmother." Nadia's eyes fluttered open, dim but sharp. "You came," she rasped. "He's—" The air detonated behind them. Melek stepped out of the smoke, half man, half machine. Metal bracers crawled up his arms. His veins glowed golden black. "So," he said, grin feral, "the moon's favorite kids finally show up." Shaka moved between them, his own wolf flickering beneath his skin. "You left graves everywhere you went." Melek's laugh was hollow. "You think the moon chose you?" "She abandoned us. I just filled the silence." He lunged. Claws met steel. Sparks showered across the stone. Melek hit like a machine, every strike mechanical, monstrous. But Shaka was faster, Azar moving through him like thunder. Ameekah dragged Nadia back, whispering power that rose straight from blood memory. Nira's voice steadied her. "Hold her! Anchor her!" Melek slammed Shaka into the wall. The crack echoed like thunder. "You can't kill progress," Shaka grinned through blood. "Then I'll kill what's left of you." He feinted, pivoted, and drove his claws straight into the gap in Melek's armor. The hybrid roared, metal shrieking. He caught Shaka by the throat, then froze as light exploded behind him. Ameekah's claws burned with the moon's fire. She struck once, clean, carving from temple to jaw. "You touched my bloodline," she said, voice like cut glass. "Now it remembers you." The divine burn spread fast. Melek's face twisted, the glow eating through the circuits in his chest. Shaka didn't wait. He shifted mid-lunge, Azar howling through him, and ripped open what was left of Melek's throat. Silence hit. The fortress dimmed. Machines died in a single exhale. The fog outside peeled back like smoke from a blown-out candle. Nadia gasped. The silver under her skin brightened, pulsing steadily. "You broke the chain," she whispered. "The moon can see again." Ameekah held her tight. "We're not done." "Not yet." Shaka's chest heaved. His voice was rough, real. "Then we finish what they started. No more rogues. No more lies." Nadia looked between them. Her heir and the wolf fate had tied her too. "Then seal it," she said softly. "Before the next moon." Her strength wavered. Ameekah caught her as she slumped, whispering against her hair. "Stay with me." "Fever root," Nadia murmured. "Blue thistle. Ash bark. Boil it with first light water. Call me back." Zaria was gone, and back in minutes, arms full of herbs slick with dew. Ameekah crushed them in her palms until the scent turned wild and green, pressed them to her grandmother's chest, whispered, "Naira, share your light." The air shimmered. One drop of Ameekah's blood fell onto the mix. Silver fire surged through Nadia's body. She arched once, then her breathing steadied. "She's stabilizing," Shaka said, low, reverent. Ameekah nodded, tears streaking through ash. "She'll live." Nadia opened her eyes, faint humor breaking through exhaustion. "You'll need me when the next moon rises," she rasped. "I'm not done bossing you yet." Ameekah laughed, small but real. "Then rest. We've got work to finish." Shaka crouched beside them, blood drying on his hands. Nadia studied him, saw the balance. the fire and the restraint. You carry her light, she said, and she carries your shadow. Don't waste that fighting each other. I don't plan to, Shaka said. Wind moved through the cave, lifting ash and the scent of crushed herbs. For a long breath, they just stood there. One heartbeat, one bloodline. Then Nadia's wolf, silver, ghostlight, ancient, rose faintly from her body, pressing her muzzle to Ameekah's. The line holds, she whispered, but the next tide carries shadow. The light faded. Ameekah pressed her grandmother's hand to her heart. I promise. Shaka offered his hand. We move before this cliff gives out. She glanced once more at Nadia. She'll hold. The herbs will keep her tethered. Good. His voice softened. You've done enough for one night. Not until it's over. Together they lifted Nadia, wrapped her in Shaka's cloak, and stepped out of Haven's ruins. The ash coast burned behind them, smoke trailing in ribbons that caught the first thin edge of morning. Shaka looked at the horizon, jaw set. Time to go home. Ameekah turned to him, tired but still fierce. Where is that, Shaka? You have Ironclaw. I have Moonfang. He studied her through the haze. Then maybe it's time we build something that belongs to both. For once, she didn't argue. The waves broke slowly against the rocks, steady and endless. She whispered, then let's start there. The storm finally gave up. Wind moved through the cliffs, cold and restless, carrying the tang of salt and the first hint of rain. Below, the sea glowed in strips of silver light, calm for the first time in days. No screaming, no gunfire, no orders being barked. Just quiet, too damn quiet. Ameekah stood near the edge, arms folded, eyes on the horizon. Her suit was ripped at the shoulder, dirt smudged down her neck. The war was over. Her head didn't know that yet. Behind her, boots crunched gravel. She didn't turn. She didn't have to. You planning to jump? Shaka's voice was rough silk, half teasing, half serious. Not tonight, she said. Still got work to do. That's not the answer I was hoping for. He came up beside her, close enough for his shoulder to brush hers. The contact hit like a fuse. Warm, grounding, dangerous. She didn't move away. The moonlight caught the green in his eyes, the kind of color that could talk you into trouble. They watched the sea for a while, wind against rock, the quiet stretch between breaths. Then he said, so what happens now? Now, she said, we rebuild. We hunt what's left. We bury what's gone. I meant with us. Ameekah turned, one eyebrow raised. Us? Yeah, he said, dead serious. You, me, Moonfang, Ironclaw. You think everyone's just going to throw a party because we stopped trying to kill each other? She smirked. Would be entertaining. He laughed, a low surprise sound that actually felt good. She blinked. You laugh? Every few years. Wow. And here I thought you were carved from concrete. I am. You're just the first earthquake. She tried not to smile and failed. You've been saving that line? Maybe, he said. Did it work? Almost. The air thickened, charged. The bond tugged again, the same way it had been for days. Quiet, demanding, hungry. Her pulse kicked. You're serious, aren't you? Dead serious, he said, stepping closer. You know this doesn't stop until we seal it. You mean the bond. I mean the madness. You walk past me and I forget how to think straight. You smell like every bad decision I ever made, and I want all of them back. She bit her lip. Might just be the blood and sweat. He grinned. No, that's just you. He brushed a lock of hair from her face, thumb trailing the faint scar on her jaw. His voice dropped low. Still time to change your mind. She met his eyes steady. Do I look like somebody who runs? He exhaled, all tension and heat. Didn't think so. He kissed her. It wasn't soft. It was everything they'd been avoiding. Fast, rough, necessary. She grabbed his collar, yanked him closer. His hand slid down her back, anchoring her like the only solid thing left on the cliff. The sea below crashed harder, like it wanted front row seats. When she bit his lip, he growled. Low, deep, primal. His eyes burned gold. His wolf came forward hard, rumbling beneath his skin. Now, Azar growled through him. Nira's voice cracked through her mind, wild and electric. Then take what's yours. They shifted together, silver and black fur flashing under the moon. The world went soundless except for heartbeat, breath, and hunger. He moved first, brushing his muzzle against her throat, a deep growl rolling from his chest. She snapped back, teeth grazing his jaw. He caught her by the scruff, pressing her down just enough to test her, and she flipped him. Fast, vicious, her paw pinning his shoulder. She didn't yield. He didn't want her to. Their bodies moved like one rhythm, bite, growl, breath, release, until instinct broke the tension wide open. His teeth found her neck, sharp and sure. Her howl split the night, echoing off the sea. Not pain, possession. She turned on him before the sound even faded, pressing him into the ground, her teeth marking his throat in return. Her mark glowed red-hot against his skin, sealing, sinking. The bond locked into place, instant, complete. Every heartbeat, every thought, every pulse of power ran between them. His fire burned into her bones. Her strength steadied his blood. It was wild and quiet all at once. When the light faded, they shifted back, skin slick with sweat and moonlight. He leaned on one elbow, staring at her like she was some miracle he didn't know how to handle. So, he said breathless, now we're officially impossible to separate. Ameekah lay back, chest still rising fast. You sure you're ready for this? My people, my temper, my bed. He grinned slowly. I'm Ironclaw. I don't scare easily. She laughed, real and raw. We'll see about that. He rolled closer, voice softer now. You smile like that, I'm already in trouble. Good, she said. I like trouble. They fell quiet again, both looking out at the dark horizon. We'll have to figure out where home is, she said finally. He traced a lazy line along her shoulder. Why pick? We build something new, somewhere that doesn't smell like politics and smoke. Her eyes met his. Joint rule. Joint everything, he said, kissing her temple. Half your fire, half my pride. We'll make it work barely, he chuckled. If I start smiling in public, my beta's gonna think I've been replaced. Maybe you have, she teased, but that's your problem, he smirked. No, that's ours. The moonlight painted them in gold and silver, twin marks still glowing faintly at their throats. Two halves of one circle, bound and burning. The wind quieted, the sea breathed, and for the first time in either of their lives, both alphas slept with nothing left to fight but the morning. The summit looked different when they came back. Half the banners were gone, the marble floor still cracked from battle. Guards stood in new formation, Ironclaw and Moonfang side by side instead of staring each other down. The air didn't smell like fear anymore. It smelled like adrenaline, coffee, and change. Ameekah walked in first, tailored crimson suit cutting against bronze skin, the faint mark at her neck still glowing like it refused to fade. Shaka moved beside her, black jacket open, each step easy but commanding enough to shift the room's gravity. No thrones, no titles, just presence. The talking stopped. The guardians stood behind the dais, robes clean, pride dulled. At the center, Shaman Malak rested both hands on his staff like a referee waiting for round two. Thane started first. The council reconvenes under new leadership. Let's skip the formalities, Ameekah said, calm but sharp. The goddess didn't tear down half this hall so we could debate seating charts. Shaka leaned forward on the table beside her. We're done with politics that starve packs. From now on, every guardian reports directly to Malak. No middlemen, no disappearing supplies. An older alpha muttered, So Ironclaw and Moonfang run everything now? Shaka smiled without warmth. No, we just make sure you actually do your jobs. The tension cracked. A few shifted uneasily. Ameekah folded her arms. You wanted fairness? You're getting accountability instead. Reports due weekly. Any pack caught stealing or hoarding, your name hits the ledger, your seat hits the floor. Thane nodded once, tired but resolute. Agreed. We'll cooperate fully. Malak's voice rolled through the room. The guardians keep their posts, but under watch. You asked for transparency, now you'll live by it. Zaria stepped forward, handing over a data slate. Distribution hubs reopen at first light. Each pack sends 10 volunteers to rebuild. No exceptions. Done, Ameekah said. Next, Dock 7, Ironclaw Command until further notice. The room murmured. Shaka straightened. Anyone got a problem with that? Silence. Didn't think so, he said. Then we move. The hall stayed quiet for a beat. The authority in their voices didn't come from old crowns. It came from survival. Everyone here had seen them fight, bleed, win. Respect wasn't a choice anymore. Ameekah looked to the Guardians. You can keep your title, she said, but you answer to the people now. Malik runs oversight. If you want redemption, earn it. Malik met her eyes. Balance restored, he said simply. Let's keep it that way. When the meeting ended, the scrape of chairs sounded like the world exhaling. Alphas filed out, half respectful, half terrified. Outside, the courtyard pulsed with movement. Packs reorganizing, soldiers loading supplies, healers shouting orders. For the first time in months, it looked alive. Shaka waited until they were alone. You know this is the part where the rumors start, right? Let them, she said. At least they'll be whispering about progress. He laughed, a real one, low and unguarded. You're getting good at this. I've had practice cleaning up your messes. My messes? He said, half smirking. Pretty sure you're the one who punched a Guardian last week. He deserved it. Can't argue that. They stepped onto the open balcony. The sea stretched beneath them, smooth and silver. The wind caught her hair. He brushed it back without thinking. So, he said quietly, where's home? Moonfang or Ironclaw? She looked out across the horizon. Both. Or neither. Maybe we build something new. Joint pack, he said, considering it. You realize that means shared command? I realize that means you'll finally have to listen to someone. He laughed, loud enough that Zaria glanced back in disbelief. My beta's gonna think I've lost it. Maybe you have, she said, smiling. But you're smiling, so it can't be that bad. He leaned closer, voice rough but warm. You're stuck with me now, you know. She tilted her head like she was thinking it over. Could be worse. How? Could have been Malik. He groaned. Don't ruin the moment. She laughed for real this time. Deep, unguarded. It hit him harder than any battle blow. Below, the packs moved like a single current. Ironclaw black and Moonfang silver, blending at last. The Guardians worked under Malik's quiet watch. For the first time in a long time, everything actually felt possible. Ameekah reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his. We'll need new laws, new councils, new leaders. Then we start tonight, he said. After dinner. Romantic, she teased. He squeezed her hand. You haven't seen me romantic yet. Promises, promises. He smiled, pulled her close, and kissed her slowly. No crowd, no politics. Just two alphas finally done pretending they didn't belong to each other. When they broke apart, she whispered, the moon's watching. Good, he said. Let her. The sea rolled beneath them, steady and strong. For once, so were they. The moon remembers those who rise from fire. If you love Book 1 like it, share it, and let the pack grow. Subscribe to Simply Jaynae Stories for the next rise of Moonfang Chronicles. Book 2 drops soon. Don't miss what comes after the bond.